shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
So, hospitality is about welcoming. And welcoming is about how we enact the good news. And sometimes how we enact the good news is as simple as a cup of water. And sometimes it's not quite that easy. When Nick Bakke graduated from high school, he was one of those pretty typical high schoolers that graduated not knowing what he was going to be when he grew up. And he bounced around from some jobs until finally he ended up in Hawaii. There is an organization called Youth with a Mission. And he applied to that organization and he went off to Hawaii to serve. And he was serving in the kitchen, he was washing dishes, and he was working on the line, and he became a line, I don't think it's called a line leader, but it is called a line leader, but I don't think it means like kindergarten. I think he was crew bossing in the kitchen. And he went and he did that, and he was, the Holy Spirit was just lit inside of Nick, even in the service piece. And he got a glimpse of what was going on in the rest of the program. So he came back to Silverton and cut off the fabulous surfer hair and assimilated, still not knowing exactly what it's going to be, but it was pretty clear that God was calling him back to the Youth with a Mission. But this time he applied and was accepted into the training program. So I want to get the language right. Training school to be a disciple of Jesus and share that with all the nations. So Nick went back to Hawaii, spent 3 months in training. Now, they don't train them up for 3 months for no reason. They train them up so that they will be sent out to share the good news with all the nations. There were 5 nations from which Nick could choose. He got his first pick, which was Egypt. Spent 10 weeks in Egypt sharing the good news. Came back 2 more weeks in Hawaii debriefing, and now he's here with us. So would you please welcome back home Nick Bakke. And Nick, come on up. Do you want to say hello to make sure you're working?
Yeah, hello.
Yep, you're working. You're working. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for coming back and being willing to share your story with us. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do, I've kind of tried to set it up a little bit so we can cut to the chase. Describe the training that you went through this time, because you had 3 months of training. Describe that training and what happened to you and for you in the midst of that training.
Testing, yeah. During the training, it broke down a lot of walls, a lot of chains, a lot of lies I believed that I thought they were the truth, but I realized that I was blinded. And we had a lot of speakers that came in that really helped us understand like what I was doing wrong, and yeah, it's just boom, broken.
Yeah, that's you've because when we've talked before, today, that was what you talked about is really boundaries got broken down and you were freed.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. So you were there, 3 months of training, intense training, things got broken down, but when it came time to implement your training, there were 5 countries that you could have gone to. Your first choice was Egypt. How come?
Partially because in the Bible it says a lot about Egypt. I'm like, man, that would be really cool to go to Egypt and like walk in the steps of where Jesus walked in. And I've always wanted to be in an area where it has like great poverty and just kind of experiencing that kind of culture. So I'm like, why not? Okay, God, let's do this.
Okay.
So,
Now, Mom and Dad weren't real excited about the Egypt prospect.
not really.
Not really. But you really felt pretty compelled to make that choice.
Yeah, I really felt like God was telling me to go to Egypt and that he would keep me safe. So I'm like, okay, I trust you.
All right, all right. So tell us what your work looked like in Egypt. Now, first of all, let's back up a little bit. You ended up in Egypt right before Easter.
Yeah.
And I don't know if y'all remember the news, Egypt at Easter, there was violence done against the Coptic Christians, that's Egyptian Christians. You guys actually were locked down on Easter, right around Easter, right, for your own safety.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there were some safety things, but what did your work look like in Egypt? What were you guys doing?
Well, most of the time we did a lot of friendship ministries. So we worked with street kids, Syrian refugees, Sudanese refugees. Just went to a park and evangelized, but we didn't say evangelize. We just said, do you want to hang out? And then ended up sharing the gospel.
So when you talk about working with the refugees, were you going into refugee camps? Or are they living in camps? I don't know this. Or are they living in apartments? What does that look like?
They're just living in just regular simple homes that have nothing, that all they have is just themselves, and then just lost everything. So we went there and just talked to them, listened to the story, shared the gospel.
But you said that even the people that had nothing still wanted to share with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like really encouraging, even when people have nothing, they still like, offer you like drinks, and not just the leftovers, they offer you the best of the best that they have, and they share what they know.
Wow. So I set it up, you were going to Egypt, there was violence done against Christians around Easter. Were you afraid?
It sounds really weird, but I was not even a little afraid. Probably because one thing was that I knew God was protecting me, and our contact said even if there was 1% of danger, he would get us out. And he's been doing this for 10 years and never had an issue, so I trusted him that it would be done. And I was letting the Holy Spirit guide me and give me wisdom about it. So I just was not afraid, and I didn't want to be afraid of man. So just fear the Lord.
And wherever you went, you always had a translator?
Yeah.
So no English speakers at all, or minimal?
They spoke English, and Arabic, but there were some people that we went to that could speak a little English, but most of the time we needed a translator.
To have a real conversation.
Yeah. But that's not just in Egypt, that's every organization, country that we went to, they always had a translator. So.
All right. While you were in Egypt, what were some of the most amazing things that you saw there?
One thing is that it's like completely different from American point of view, that we are all trying to be independent and just worry about yourself, just do the best I can. But here, they're very family oriented, that they try to, they really welcome you in, not because they need to, but because they want to. They really just welcome you in. Like I could just walk down the street and say hi to someone. They're like, hey, come to my house later. I'm like, and I don't even know them, just like, they're very welcoming.
And as an American, still welcoming?
Yeah, and I could say from what I learned that me and my team, we would always talk about bringing the Egyptian culture everywhere, because the Egyptian culture really represents what a godly material is supposed to be like really welcoming, and everything they do is out of love. So
welcoming. Is that kind of funny that comes around on this Sunday?
Yeah.
God has a way of doing that. Got a way of doing that. So what other things amazing? I mean, did you see sights in Egypt while you were there? I mean, we saw Nick on a camel. Did you got to see the Sphinx? You got to see pyramids? Yes?
Yeah. It was funny. For like the first half of Egypt, we didn't even see the pyramid, didn't even ride camels, and I'm like, man, am I even in Egypt? So then
I'm going to go to Egypt and not even get to see the things.
So then some days we have days off because we did a lot of like ministries all day. So when we finally went to Egypt, Egypt. When we finally went to the pyramids and camels, it was not only was the hottest day,
Of course.
but yeah, I really felt like I was in Egypt finally. So
Yeah.
it was really nice.
So I get to talk about the fun stuff. Now let's cut to the chase here because everybody's waiting for the question, right?
Yeah.
Right. So Nick, give us some of the places that you saw the face of God.
Well, in lecture phase, that's
So we're training.
yeah, the training.
Training back in Hawaii.
Training back in Hawaii. Yeah, before I came, I had a lot of walls and chains that I just seemed so impossible in my eyes to be broken. And like I always tried to break it off by myself, but then I was with everyone, all my team members and friends and speakers, they really helped encourage me to ask God. So then it was just weird, just God like broke them off and I could like see and feel my joy. Like I became, first I was sad and depressed into joy and happy. So
Face of God happened within you, that internal
Yeah.
that internal breaking.
Yeah.
And out of that breaking came freedom
Yeah.
and joy. All
And
right.
then I would say the second part, which was in Egypt, was like I discussed, that everyone is so welcoming. Everyone just wants to hang out with you, and really shows that godly material, which is really weird because people think America is like the best country, but like it's not really the best country that makes us the best country. It's like what we do out of it, and that's why I just loved Egypt, because all the Muslims, Sudanese, Syrians are so godly material that you could just see it in them.
So a brand new appreciation for
Yeah.
another country that can be a great country too,
Yeah.
and not in competition. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you have any face of God experiences, like face to face with somebody when you were doing your friendship ministries?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think we have time that we could hear a couple of those.
There's this, the ministry, the park ministry, where we evangelize. So we just go up and you just say, hey, can I hang out with you? And then you just talk to them what they're doing and then share some Bible verses or anything. So there were these three Muslim guys sitting on a park bench. And I really didn't want to talk to them. I just wanted to walk by. But then I made eye contact with them, and I'm like, oh shoot, now I have.
Rumor has it eye contact is bad. Yeah.
So then for guys to guys, they always handshake and just you could be talking for hours. So I started talking to them, and first I started like, hey, hello, how you doing? Name's Nick, blah blah blah, all the intro stuff. And then I asked a question. I'm like, so what's your religion? I mean, I'm pretty sure I knew what the religion, but I needed something to make it easier to spark the conversation. So they're like, I'm Muslim. I'm like, okay, now I got to get the truth now. So then I just shared the truth, that I'm a Christian. I'm a dude who loves Jesus. That it's not about religion. We shouldn't be under like the law, because if we're controlled, then we're not doing it from our own self. We're doing it because we have to, but we should do it because we want to. So I just shared a lot about freedom out of it. And then the translators said that they felt like they got seeds planted into them.
Wow.
So I was like one out of like many things that, so.
Yeah. Well, and then the courage, Nick,
Yeah.
you had talked about, knocking down the walls and creating courage and being able to do that in the time that seemed really frightening or overwhelming or.
Yeah. It was like, I listened to a lot of podcasts before, and this guy named Todd White, he was talking about Jesus is a comforter, but we must be uncomfortable to have a comforter to come in. So I'm like, okay, I need to be uncomfortable. So.
All right.
So I just let the Spirit lead me wherever He went.
Very
So.
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody have any burning questions right this moment? How was the food?
It was good and bad at the same time.
You were regularly sick.
Yeah. My whole team, everything we ate, we got sick because it's not the most sanitary place. Because this little story that I will tell you that it explains exactly why it's not the cleanest. There's this like bread stand and some bread fell down on the dirty ground where, everyone pees and just walks everywhere on it. And the bread was on the ground and this bread guy came up, picked it up and put it back on.
Yep. So good, but not so good.
Yeah.
Anything else? Well, hopefully you're going to come up with a... Oh, yes, Nora.
Were you able to approach women culturally or not?
You can, but most of the time...
The question is, could he, as a young man, approach women? Or was that a cultural barrier?
You can, but you have to... yeah, I would say you can, but most of the time, if you approach a woman, it's because you want to have a relationship with them, a deeper thing with them. So that's why we always have the girls come with us, so it doesn't look like we're trying to pursue a relationship with them, because that's a culture where here it's no, I just want to talk to you, but there it's different. So that's why if you're talking to girls, you have to have them with you.
So once you decided to go to Egypt, did they do quite a bit of work with you in terms of cultural norms and what was acceptable and not acceptable?
Well, before in our training program, we took once a week to just study the cultures.
Of all 5 places?
No, I mean for each different groups.
Okay.
We had,
okay.
On Fridays, we each got into our team groups. So we
Of where you were going.
So we each kind of studied the culture, asking questions what are our jobs going to be there for keeping our team maintained. So I'd say we were prepared, but we got more prepared after a week being there.
Of course, of course. Good. So hopefully you're going to have lots of questions. Nick is going to be around during hospitality time, also known as coffee hour, and please approach him then.
Yeah, it's a lot easier if people come up and ask questions, because I could talk, but I wouldn't know if I'm really impacting or if you guys understand.
Good.
So.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Yes.
Hospitality and welcome. Not only are we called to do them, we're reminded why that we do them, because it continues what God has started in our lives. And sometimes, folks, it means going a long way away, and sometimes it's as simple as a cup of cold water. Amen.
Well, this light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. And every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, I let my little light shine. Oh, Jesus gave me light, I'm gonna let it shine.